Kick it to the curb. I somewhat struggled to think of curricular elements that I felt should be eliminated from current curriculum. Personally, it might sound a little cliche, but I really think there's a lot to learn and a lot of different things and ways to learn. I feel like all information is important, even if it's something like this color is periwinkle, or oh, did you know that this was a fruit and not a vegetable? I really don't think there's any information that's not valuable. So I had a difficult time thinking of things that we could strike from lesson plans or from null curriculum, hidden curriculum in the classrooms. I did, however, come up with a list of things that I feel are not part of curriculum as of today, and it could be found, I assume, in null or hidden curriculums, but I do really think they should become part of the formal curriculum. At least in Texas, I skimmed over our TEKS and I couldn't really find anything that was in depth that encompassed any of these subjects. So, a few of the things that I feel like should be in our formal curriculum is nutrition, maintenance, budgeting, taxes, cooking, information like credit scores, CPR, etiquette, repairs. I know there are government classes, but I feel like we should emphasize local government. Classes that involve stress management, social media safety, now that technology is part of everyone's daily life, starting at a very young age. And a lot of kids are really using social media. And I think something along the lines of survival skills. I took a lot of extra classes when I was in high school, but I never really took any classes that taught me how to balance a checkbook. And I know in 2019 that might be irrelevant to a lot of people, but I do think that it's something that we should teach to our students in our classrooms, even if it's something minimal or in passing. I do also think things like taxes, what are taxes, where do they go, why are they important, or something simple as budgeting. I think those are things that we encounter every day in society, but no one really shows us or tells us or explains those subjects. I think part of it is because as teachers, we have a mindset where we just want to do our job. And in the state of Texas, our job is teaching skills and objectives, goals that are outlined in our TEKS. And I think it's a very minimal way to do our job. And I feel that educators should want to do more for their students. I think something like etiquette is a huge subject that needs to be emphasized in our classrooms starting at a very young age, because a lot of students now in the younger generations, instead of them having learning disabilities, instead of them having factors inside of the classroom that are not allowing them to learn, they're coming to the classes or they're coming to school with a lot of behavior issues. And a lot of it stems, based on research, it stems from their home environment. So I feel like, and I've seen it in a lot of classrooms, there's a lot of, well, we can't say this, we can't do that. That's not our job. We're not supposed to be addressing this. And I think if we were to emphasize manners, values, etiquette into our curriculum, our formal curriculum, it would show a lot of change, I think, in performance. And it would have a huge impact on just how our society functions in a whole. other things that I feel like are never discussed about are repairs, like things to cars, repairs around your house, what to do when your sink breaks, or what to do when your toilet is not flushing correctly. And again, that seems like something that's common sense or something that most people would know, but it is amazing to know how many people don't know how to change a tire, how many people don't know how to even check for oil, how many people don't know what it means when there is a yellow light in your car flashing. And I think things like um, stress management is something that's becoming a very pressing issue in our society, because a lot of people are having health issues and they're not being addressed. Mainly, I feel like that is also because of home environment and also because of culture environment. So here in the valley, where there are a lot of Catholics, um, and there's a lot of Hispanics, primarily it's very common for there not to be a lot of communication at home. I know growing up, I wasn't necessarily allowed to speak to my parents. I was never shown how to sit down and have a conversation. It was always a one-way conversation. My parents would tell me what to do, or they would tell me this, tell me that, but I could never respond with what I thought, how I felt, or I never felt like there was their door open so I could go to them about things. And I see and I've heard and I've read so many articles where that's very common in the area that we live in. So a lot of people grow up having anxiety or depression, or they have all of these health concerns, health issues, mental issues, and some of them grow up and just overcome it. And a lot of young adults are still facing issues into adulthood. So I think classes that emphasize stress management, what to do, strategies, techniques, I feel like that should be something that could be in our formal curriculum. I also think something so basic as survival skills. I personally was in Girl Scouts growing up, so I learned a lot of survival skills, and I was fortunate to have my dad that taught me how to do a lot of things outside, but I do know that there's not a lot of people who have those opportunities, and so people might not know how to light a fire. They might not know how to turn off a fire or to get rid of a fire. They don't know what's the difference between a leaf and maybe something that's poison ivy. They don't know how to remove a thorn correctly, or they don't know what to do when a bee stings them. And although that has no academic importance, that's not something that's going to be tested on STAR or end of course. I do think that's something that our students should know. Another really big thing I think is nutrition, also because of the environment, the culture, the area that we live in, the types of foods that are very common. I know there are health classes, and I know these are in our TEKS since first grade. In kinder, I believe there are some TEKS guidelines where it's mandated the time that they have to have health on a weekly basis, but it's not really emphasized until first grade. So I do think there should be more information on nutrition, what to eat, what not to eat. But I do think that the information should be more in depth. I personally, I can't recall ever being explained or being told why too much milk was bad. I was always told that you should drink your milk, it's very important, yada yada, but no one ever explained, okay, there's whole milk, 1% milk, 2% milk, and the different types of milks, why they're important. No one ever explained to me exercise and the types of exercises, like cardiovascular. I never knew why that was important. I was never taught about muscle memory. Um, so I do think things like nutrition is very important. Lastly, I think something like credit scores should be discussed, maybe not so early on in our curriculum, but definitely once we get to secondary level. I have younger sisters who are now 20, going to be 20, um, and they don't know very much about their credit scores. They don't understand it. And we come from a family that we grew up low income. Parents aren't very well educated. So I know they never talk to us about our credit scores. They never talk to us about not getting out a credit card and not taking out a loan and you have to pay back and APRs and fees. And so I think it's very important to introduce that information at the secondary level so students can start thinking about their credit scores, their futures, income, money management, finance strategies and techniques so they can be successful.